talking about the mother's gut instinct. We all had that when we took our children in to be vaccinated. And then, of course, the doctors or the media, all of the things that are still going today, the fear into you, and then you override your gut instinct, which is happening right now with the COVID. We've seen it already. And so I really do feel that fear is the biggest evil of all here, because we're all living by it. You're a doctor, you're sitting here, you're telling the truth. Why are your colleagues not doing it? There are a handful of doctors around the world. And of course, the German doctor arrested in Great Britain this weekend from just standing on the podium, didn't even get to speak. So is that fear again in the doctors?
It's fear. I can tell you that now in our state, to give a vaccine, to clear someone so they don't have to get the vaccine, they are terrified of this, an exemption, a medical exemption. It's so bad that one of the cases I heard was a young man who has 1 year left to graduate from college. He's very, very allergic to some of the ingredients in the MMR vaccine. But in order to graduate from college, he needs this vaccine. Here's what the doctors told him. Then make sure that you get the shot in the emergency room. In the event that you have an anaphylactic reaction, we can then resuscitate you. That's insanity. I don't see how you can hold down a baby and give them multiple shots when their immune system is not even entirely developed. It becomes, I think, because maybe we could say from years of fluoridation, everyone's pineal gland is calcified. They can't see it. Now, I have to say to you, I was radicalized a bit before I went into medical school. I had members of my family sign out of the hospital against medical advice and do well at home. So I have an enormous amount of faith in my body's ability to heal and in the human body's ability to heal, because I've seen it over and over. I've seen people reverse cancer. I've seen them reverse ALS. I've seen them reverse just about every known disease, and we have data to prove that. But the fear is the lowest vibration we can possibly have. And it is incredibly powerful at controlling people and controlling the masses. And the minute each of us finds the courage to stand up, then we find our true power as human beings made in the image of God.
Now, you talk about the incredible way a body can heal itself, and I'm with you 100%. But Polly Tommy, and this is not your opinion, I'm going to ask for your opinion on this. I am so concerned about this vaccine. I don't think people can recover from it. And I think it's suicide to take the COVID-19 vaccine. I'm just going to say it from what I hear about everything in it. That's my opinion. Do you think you can detox from the COVID vaccine with what we know that's going to be in it now?
Oh, that is the best possible question. Because there's two things that I would say. In the three-dimensional world, no, we cannot. We can only detox from that if we get a direct connection with our divinity. I work with Robert Fritchie of the World Service Institute, who teaches people how to heal with divine love, God's love. This is not religion, folks. And so therefore, to me, it's a possibility that we can heal anything. But I would say, why even take the chance? I would never take the chance. Why would I put my body through that? I am with you. I believe that this vaccine is designed to call the human.
And I was doing an interview with Mary, just asking for a little bit of advice. There are a lot of parents, mothers particularly, and I say mothers because you're such an expert on women's health, with very injured children, stuck at home, and that mental health is not great because they haven't got anybody helping with them. And there's a lot of talk of people like, do I want to go through this? How do I get through this? I have no help, I have nothing. Do you have any advice for people suffering with loneliness, despair, exhaustion, and given up?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, this is where, it's always darkest before dawn. I want you to get down on your knees and say, God, help me. I don't know what to do. Help me. And that's what I would do, and ask for help and then wait, because when you ask, it is given.
I say hallelujah to that. Well, what about the screen here?
Those of you old
You
enough,
can't do that.
that's only 20 years ago.
You don't have it on the screen here?
Us ancient folks remember that well.
Gotta laugh
That
to
was the
keep.
last
Get
time
rid of Graham and put my image up there. Don't do that. Who's going out to?
decided by the
What do
Supreme.
people see on the screen?
That Gilchrist. We're one other.
You know? So,
What's
gentlemen,
up, Bev?
are we in for a rerun of 20 years old?
No sound for Graham.
How about you,
What do you
Graham?
see on the screen? Oh, okay. There you go. Oh, okay. All right. Well, wait for Graham to talk. I've got my director on the phone here. Okay.
All right,
All
I
right.
think we have some technical
you.
difficulties.
Welcome to the Gilchrist Experience. We're back. COVID has knocked us out for a little while, but we're back. As you see on this roll-in, we got a lot of people against the vaccine. We were talking about the vaccine quite a bit with Dr. Bowles, and we have still the same objections from several of our family. Graham is on Skype. I personally have taken 2 shots of the Pfizer vaccine up at 169th Street and Broadway, the Armory up there, and it was, I had I took the flu shot a couple of years ago and got a worse arm soreness from that. But this vaccine was harmless to me. I mean, I came up with, I feel great. And psychologically, I feel safer. I'm still abiding by the rules, and everything is,
We're one other.
my director is calling again. Yes, darling. October 28th is, my show is not airing.
It's the October 28th.
All right, they're going, they didn't know, yeah, Mary's here. They showed the roll-in? Did you saw the roll-in, though?
Yes, the roll-in was there.
Yeah. What we're doing live now. You don't see a live show.
No, October 28th, 2020 is what's on.
No, don't start with the roll-in. Start from here.
He's gonna give me a cue when you're on now, pointing, and you just do the intro again, okay?
Okay. All right. Well, we're working on it. We're working on it. We're working on it. Yeah. Bye. Somehow they got the tape in there. Ron. Oh, slight technical difficulties, but this happens, and we're back. Well, as I was saying, you know, several of our, if you saw the roll-in, we were exposing you to the anti-vaccines. People are still talking against the vaccines. We got 50% of the Republicans saying they're going to not take the vaccine, and there are a lot of doubting Thomases out here. I have taken the vaccine, and I feel fine. I feel reassured that I will live to be 100. I'm guaranteed another 20. Leroy and I turned 80 years old. 80.
By the grace of God.
80.
Fantastic.
80.
By the grace of God.
And that's from the COVID shot.
Fantastic.
No, I'm not going to. Leroy didn't take the shot. But I'm happy, and I see, you know, some a bright future on taking this vaccine. But we'll hear from our family here. I'm the only one here that has had the vaccine. But we know there was a lot of problems with a lot of places. The blood clots with Johnson & Johnson, which was, well, I was told not to take the vaccine if I was allergic to penicillin, and I took it and had no reaction whatsoever. So I feel safe, and I feel a little bit more secure that but see, in the piece they say that you can heal anything through faith, and well, I have got God on my side, so nothing can happen to me. Look, 80 years old, what, tell me, God doesn't bless me? Come on, folks, take the vaccine. All right, that's my plug. As you say, Leroy, my brother.
Indeed.
80 years, happy birthday, brother.
And black to you, sir.
And black to me.
Black to you. It's indeed a blessing when you look at the obituaries in the daily papers and also in the Times, etc. A lot of people are leaving the planet. And what we want to do as a people is not rush ourselves to the grave, because the system is set up for black people to go to the grave at a very early age, and without the demonstration of their talents and gifts. That's the reason you see drug centers, drug markets in Harlem, in the Bronx, in Brooklyn. You see these brothers and sisters caught up on drugs. That's a part of the war against black people in America. Also, there's a war against those who do not fit in with the scheme of things. There's a war against those individuals who do not fit into the scheme of things. And when you look at that, those are Caucasian people in Appalachia, West Virginia, people who are addicted to opiates. There's no jobs in the area, but drugs is there. And that is to wipe them out, because we're dealing not so much in a black and white thing. We're dealing in a mindset. And this mindset has been in America ever since being populated from England. England sent their undesirables. Let these people go over there and populate this wilderness. And then after the colonies caught on, then you have this elite structure coming over and trying to influence, and that's where you have the Revolutionary War. The bottom line is that mindset still exists, the feudal lord. Like, people who don't know about that should remember the movie Braveheart with Mel Gibson. And that shows the elitism there. And that elitism still exists. And that's why it's a mistake, in my opinion, for black people to get caught up in Republican and Democrats. Because you're looking at a mindset. Wherever that mindset is against people living well, that's what you're against, and that's who's against us. Where you find a mindset of those individuals who desire for people to live well, let live and let live. That's the kind of mindset that we support and should buy into. And that transcends Republican, Democrat, et cetera. We have to look at the individuals as to what the mindset is. And that is reflected in Washington, D.C. And infrastructure is needed.
The change of presidents has given us a new insight, hasn't it?
Well,
don't you see some improvement? No. Leroy.
No, I'm not into, there's one thing, I feel that a lot of black people were against Trump based on MSNBC. Because I don't know what the guy did against us that he didn't do against everybody else. He gave the rich money in terms of tax reshifting, what they call shifting the monies from the middle class into the wealthy. And
I don't think
away
we had
from
quite a white supremacist. And what about the insurrection in January 6th?
those are individuals who were there anyway, and they were mobilized more during the during the Obama administration because they're anti-black. But I'm not hooked up on this Trump thing. That's a distraction. I heard a lady today run her program was over whether Trump was disappointed with the Facebook stuff. And that doesn't move black people from one point to another. I'm not stuck on this Trump thing, and that's a mistake.
Well, who do you think holding us back?
Brother,
Trump?
black women in America are waiting for the black man to wake up. Black women in America, they don't say it, they wait. The black man is not awake to his true creative and dynamic potential. He is not. He's caught up in a low-level thing.
Well, yeah, you're not
Ask
going to
the
do
black
that in
woman.
the Trump administration.
Well, you know,
You don't see any hope for us under the Biden administration? Mary, what
I
do you
didn't say
think?
that.
Mary, let's go to a black woman. We're here because of black women. They're the nurturers.
I'm not going to deny
Life
that.
givers. Huh?
I'm saying that the black man is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this, and this is what I base it on. He said, the black man and woman in America have been bred in fear. There's been fear put into us from our very first second of birth. It's come it's genetic in terms of the enslavement of black people in America. Fear. And that's where the waking up comes from. That's why his book is called Message to the Black Man in America. Why the black man? The black woman is awake. We will beat the hell out of into a slave mentality. The black woman has been left free to be the booty of the slave master. I'm talking in general terms, but that's the way it is. The black man, when he comes into himself, they slaughter the black man. The Black Panthers, you saw that because they were demonstrating manhood. Martin Luther King, he started demonstrating thinking outside the box. He was assassinated, and on and on and on. So the black man in America has the greatest potential, not only to free himself and his people, but free America, the black man. But when you get in office and you start acting feminine, you understand? When you start acting like a black man acting like a woman, soft, can be moved any kind of which way, doing things to ingratiate himself to the slave masters. And that's, you know.
Kissing butt.
Kissing butt,
Stand
even
strong.
before the butt is offered to him.
Well, if you don't have any anger in you, you can approach life a little differently.
Brother.
I had too much anger in me. I mean, I had so much pent-up anger that
The anger.
and hatred kills yourself. It's
anger.
poison to the body.
Brother,
Listen,
when I talk about the black man
Well, we're talking about
awakening,
God healing
I'm talking about
everything.
Brother Leroy too.
Okay, of course.
I'm talking about Brother Leroy too.
We're talking about a difference. We're the same age, come from the same hood, and you're a little bit more angry than I am. How's that?
I would beg to differ. You come out of the Marines,
Oh,
and you faced a lot of hell in there. You took a lot of stuff.
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
I gave stuff. I gave them hell.
Okay,
I
you didn't
gave
take a
them
lot
hell.
of stuff.
Because I was from New York. I was from the hood.
Okay,
I was raised in Holland.
then you lucky to be alive.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Anger, you should have seen me in the Marine Corps. I was a nut. I was a crazy,
To them.
but I was mad because my mother died. My mother died when I was 22. And you catch me in every bar, hand wrestling these suckers, chewing glass. Oh, man, I was a nut. But I understand insanity. Because I was
Insanity
there.
and anger were two different things.
Brother G.
Well,
Spoon.
If I may interject.
anger brought on insanity to me. That's it.
Oh,
Jesus
See-
said, be angry, but don't commit the sins.
That's okay.
It
Well,
is
that's
there's
what I do
nothing
now.
wrong with being
See, finding
angry,
God
but
is
it's
the
called
answer.
for and justified. But to be walking around in anger, that's not normal.
Right.
Even Jesus got angry and he kicked some tail in the temple,
Right.
right? So there's nothing wrong with anger at the appropriate time. And when you're angry, you need to know how to dispense that anger. You don't take it out on people that are not part of the situation. And you have to also maintain control of yourself to some degree.
That's right.
And there are times when you need to break somebody down, bust them up, do what you got to do, because that's falsehood. There's nothing wrong with that either. Self-defense,
When they
protecting your
deserve it,
family,
in particular.
must do that. And that's not violence. That's not violence at all. God didn't put anybody here to be abused by anybody else, under no circumstances.
All right. That
Amen.
was Graham. Now, he comes from a violent neighborhood.
I come from East New York. Homicide capital, New York City. That's where I was raised. That's right.
But you know God. See, that's the difference, Graham.
Oh, man.
You know God. See, a black man without God in his life is lost.
Spirit moves the body.
That's it.
Whatever spirit is in the body is going to determine the behavioral pattern of the body.
That's it.
And what Leroy was saying before, he was right there with the Willie Lynch piece. And if people have not read the Willie Lynch piece and read the entire thing, it's a number of pages. It's not just 1 or 2 pages. That was a plantation owner from Barbados who came to this country to teach the white plantation owners how to psychologically damage black people.
Out of control.
Right. And he said, this will work for generations if you do it right. And he spoke about...
What about this vaccine? What do you think our struggle with the vaccine is? I know you have a particular take. I've taken the shots. I think it's a good route to go. I see a lot of progress coming from Joe Biden. I see the complete opposite of what Trump was doing. Now, Trump is the devil himself, the devil incarnated. You can see what he's doing now. He's building a whole movement on lies. And he got 74 million people to vote for. Now, what do we do with that? Well, we have Graham on Skype all the time? So, no, what are people seeing in the audience? Graham?
I think so. There you go.
Okay. So what were you saying, Graham? That was a question.
Oh,
Your take on the vaccine, like Leroy was saying.
the last mass vaccine I took was polio in 1955.
Well, we don't want to go back that far.
Well, you heard what I said.
I know. I said we don't want to go back that far.
I haven't. The only vaccines I've ever had, I had polio. I had a tetanus shot.
And the reason for not taking the vaccine today,
Are you going to let me answer the question?
if
No.
you answer it quickly,
I took a
behind time.
tetanus shot for stepping on a rusty nail in a vacant lot. And I took a malaria shot when I went to Africa 10 years ago. Not that I was going to be facing infestation from malaria, but because they mandated it in order to get back in the country. So I took the shot. I told the doctor there's more disease in New York than there is where I was going in Africa. So, and I ran off a list of things that he smiled. He said, "You're right." I said, "Thank you." With regard to this thing, I've never taken a flu shot. Haven't needed to take a flu shot because I've never gotten the flu. I know this is a different thing with all the variations. I did get my first COVID test a week and a half ago because we had a funeral at the church, so I had to show that I was COVID free in order to serve.
your back in your face is always up there.
But my wife and I are considering it. We're discussing it. We're talking to some people we have, close family members and such in the medical profession, and we're discussing it. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes.
All right, Mary, welcome home.
Thank you. First and foremost,
The lady should have went first, actually.
no, that's okay. That's
Wait,
okay.
Adam
That's
before Eve.
okay.
Adam before Eve.
That's okay.
Pull a mic up.
But-
All right.
First and foremost, I'd just like to say
Mic is fine. I'm sorry.
I'd like to give God the glory.
All right.
And by giving God the glory, I am honored and privileged to be here between the two of you, both 80 years old, 80 years blessed. I thank God for that, to be allowed to be able to share in the wisdom and the experience of you. And the same thing with Graham.
He's a little younger.
He's a little younger, and I'm a little younger. But today is a special day for me, so I'm going to kind of like jump around a little bit. Starting with the concern that you have pertaining to the vaccine. Publicly, I have not been vaccinated as we speak today. I still have some unreadiness, and the unreadiness is basically medical. They have more than one type of vaccine for the coronavirus. So having said that, I don't think anyone has really looked at the differences between the three major vaccines that are available. What is the composition of those three vaccines? Why three? Why not just one? And the concern is that if the average person has not received any type of medical advice or not seeing a medical physician for his or her health, which vaccine do you feel is best? Which would be best for you? As we stated earlier, they have their place. However, it's not one size fit all. So it's an individual thing, and I think that anyone that goes to take the vaccine, if they have consultation with their medical advice, I think that they should get medical advice from their medical physicians. And going to the roll-in that was taken earlier this morning, that we saw earlier in the show, fear.
Right?
Fear is a very powerful thing. But if you believe in my God,
That's it.
fear has no place.
That's it.
Has no place. And we have to constantly remind ourselves of that.
That's it.
And one of the things that came out in the roll-in from the doctor was that when you have fear and you're undecided, can't make up your mind on what to do with anything,
And you should pray.
go to the book. Whatever your religion is, you get on your knees and you pray, because there is a supreme being.
Right?
And in this case, I pray to my God for direction and advice. The next item that we talked about was pertaining to a man. My God made man. My belief, my understanding, and my God made woman from man. But what does that really mean? I do believe, based on my religion, that man is the head of the house, should be the head. Now, what has happened in terms of civilization to push that man to the brink, that he no longer feels that he is in control of whatever is going on within his own self, let alone to be able to take care of a family or to venture out into the community. My son today would have been 52 years old. He was murdered, police murder. A lot of people don't know about that.
Ooh.
However, I say that to say
I didn't
a mother that has a son that would have been 52 years of age, born and raised in Harlem, there's a lot that's going on. And Brother Leroy, you talked really serious about some of the things pertaining to systematic depression, genocide, if you will.
Yeah?
We have to be our brother's keepers.
Right.
And if a woman bears a child, then the woman bears a child because a man was with her. So therefore, women are strong physically, But I think that the first nurturing comes from the woman.
Of course.
And I think that women have to step forward and allow their men to be men, which means you raise a boy child. My son lived to be 35 years of age. So he's been with God for 17 years.
Wow.
And he never, ever verbally disrespected me. He was raised to be respectful. Now, what he did in the world, I may or may not be aware of, but in my presence. And one of the things that penetrate in my mind and resonate with me was at his funeral, the people that came to talk about him, one of the things they said was, your son was so mannerable. And this came from women, mothers, grandmothers, aunts, cousins, young girls his age, young women his age, younger. And I say that my call is to us as black people. We don't have to prove anything in terms of being a woman. We have, and we do, birth men. And they are strong. And we have to teach them to be strong. And we have to tell them that respect and love and the fear of God is what they need. When they learn that and learn how to treat females with respect, not just words, not physical, but with their mind and their hearts, to be able to put that respect out there. Words hurt. To sing a song to a woman of love is nice. To sing a song to a woman with disgrace in terms of defamation by calling her any name other than love or woman or sister or mother or auntie or niece. That's what my plea is. So with all of what we have gone through pertaining to having leadership, yes, we've gone through the Trump era and we survived. But I think that God put him there, allowed him to be there. But what I ask is, what have we learned from that? What have we learned as a people? The economic strain that's on us is real, not just here in New York City, not just in the local area of Harlem where I was born and raised and lived all of my life, but it's around the world.
That's it.
And one of the things that I think that we need to do is to really sit down and look and say, what is it that we bring to the table? And how do we lift one another up with respect?
Amen.
And how do we share the gifts that we have?
Being
Each
black.
and every last one of us have a talent. Some have more than one. But what good is it for you to have $1 trillion sitting in a bank account and Brother Leroy has no food on the table? What joy, what pleasure to whatever supreme being that you believe in would want that?
Well, you
Unless
know,
it's evil.
in the black community, we were always our brother's keeper.
Yes.
And that element was prevalent in Harlem.
Yes, it was.
mean, Leroy and I came up in a moment in Harlem.
That's right.
We three being Harlemites, when we know about brotherhood
That's correct.
Yes.
and love of your neighbor. I mean, I was born in 1941, in the
And-
middle of Hitler was taking over Europe. I mean,
And
it
if
wasn't,
if I may say also,
you know?
yes, we're in a war. But we first have to realize that the war is real. And with all the programs and everything that people are talking about, it begins, in my belief, with the family.
Right,
We do not
exactly.
need government in every instance. Because if government is going to supply your children with everything they need, then why do your children need and respect the rules that you're giving to them? If you're getting a welfare check or if you're getting any type of subsistence, you have to go and apply.
Well, I feel we are Americans. We built this country, and we deserve everything this country has to offer.
And I agree with that.
We applied and played by the rules, and there's no reason in the world why we should be shortchanged of anything.
And I
If
agree with
anything,
that.
when I went in the Marine Corps, I demanded my respect. You couldn't say the N-word around me, black or white. All right? I was a Marine. That raised me to believe that I was serving my country. I took the role seriously. I mean, I was so gun-ho, man, they could have sent me anywhere. But I was 18 years old and completely brainwashed
Right,
into
you
the
was
system.
conditioned. You
I
was
knew to
conditioned.
do right, and if I didn't do right, my father would kick my butt, and I wanted to make my mother proud of me.
But see what you just said?
I know, I was an
You
American.
wanted to make your mother proud of you.
Of course. Mommy was always first.
Yes. And right now, what has happened is the economic constraints. We talk now about all of the laws that go on right now in New York City. It's going to be a major, major transition within the next 6 to 7 months after all of the elections.
Right?
You're going to have all kinds of new ideas, new ideology on division in terms of what are the rules, what are the court laws, and how
Right.
people are going to be treated. And we have to really pay attention,
To the
because
change.
when you think about the Constitution and you look at the 13th Amendment and all the things that went in it, you have to watch the language.
Right?
Because when we're changing things, are we really changing it for the betterment of us? Or are we changing it for the moment in time because of an emotional situation? And how do we galvanize our young people to understand that, yes, entitlement, but what does it mean? Does that mean that you don't work? Does that mean that you don't put a certain value on what you're doing?
That's it.
And have a certain amount of accountability? Does it mean that we don't go back and what they say, each one teach one?
Yeah, hey, there you go.
There's a lot of things. My parents had a bakery, Trilani Bakery in Harlem.
A famous
And I
one.
walked the streets just the other day, walking down 8th Avenue, and I see the blight coming back again, the heroin.
Ooh,
That's by design.
of course.
You go on 125th Street and Lenox Avenue, right there in front of Whole Foods, across the street on the other side,
The
going on the
junkies are back?
uptown.
The
The
junkies
drugs are there again. That is by design. That is by design. So we talk about killing. We need to make sure that we talk to our children over and over and over. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes. What do we need to do? I just think that we need to continuously say how much we love our children,
Hey,
and we need to continuously hold them accountable to the standards of respect. Someone said the other day, it was my pastor, just a conversation. One thing that has not changed, your Quran, when you read it, it's the same today as it was yesterday. My Bible, when I read it, it's the same today as it was yesterday. But if you're not careful and you read the rules and regulations and the laws that are on the books today, and I'm sure Graham can attest to that, they're not the same as they were yesterday. And if you didn't keep up with it and realize that there has been a change, and that change is not necessarily the best for you, it is to keep you docile. And they're doing the change in the name of giving us what they have taken or have denied. But by the same token, when you looked at the educational system, when we talked about that during this whole pandemic, how many of our young children did not have access?
Correct.
Did not have access
Correct.
to the internet.
And graduating.
And they were already, yes, they were already behind.
that's it.
And how many of those teachers were on the video or didn't show up and walked away? And how many parents even knew how to navigate on a system? So I'm saying when we talk about the vaccine and we talk about all of these rules and regulations and all this, I'm saying that it needs to be discussed in a household with a family.
That's correct.
And I love my black men.
That's correct.
And I respect my black men.
Well, I see a chance for us becoming human again. I mean, as a people, as an American people. Because this demon is out of the White House. I show a lot of concern about. I don't know why that doesn't bother you.
It's not him.
Of course, it's him. He emboldened the system to become more racist. He empowered the people. He had an insurrection in January 6th. That doesn't affect you?
He did not create these people. These people were already there before he became the president.
I know that. What I'm saying.
When my son was in the Navy.
That's not what I'm saying, Graham. I know they were there. I know a lot of them. And we've been fighting these people for a long time. But we're talking about playing the rule fairly, doing the game fairly. We're accustomed to a con. We've always lived under the con, under oppression and genocide. But now we've got a chance to be free, mind-wise, and stop fighting those old battles and understand that we got to play by the rules now. We got a chance to improve things for ourselves.
Then you
now we have to go back to
Georgia.
the element of family.
Family.
Each one teach one.
That's right. Family.
All right? Let's go back and be fair to one another.
That's right.
Be
Respect.
fair to one another and trust God. Here's the answer.
Our families.
There's the
families.
answer. Be fair and trust God.
Understanding.
And that's with anger in my voice, right? I'm being hard about it. Hard, man. Be mad as shit.
Understanding.
Trust God and be fair.
Mary
All right?
said we're in a war. I believe
That's
Mary
right.
said we're in a war.
That's the war.
It is
And
a war.
in a war, there are casualties.
Well, I'm not
There
going
are
to be one of them.
injuries.
I'm
there
not
are
going to be one of them.
victories,
The drug
and there
addict on
are
the
defeats.
corner is a casualty.
Right.
Now, why? Because of depression and giving into this, the negativity or not being aware of the genocide. The genocide has always been here for 400 years.
Yes.
And it's not going away.
Hey,
Look at
I'm
Georgia.
a black man,
Look at
lived here for
Florida.
80 years, and I got to be happy. After 80 years, God let me live 80 years. I've been through some shit.
That's nice, but that's
All
not
right,
the
and,
that's not
I mean,
the issue.
excuse me.
We gotta hear
Florida,
Brother
Look
Witherspoon.
at Georgia.
You
Look
wanna
at
see
the
some
laws
anger,
they're
don't you?
passing
No.
in Florida
You wanna
and
see some
Georgia
anger?
to prevent black people from voting today, not 1954.
That's what we gotta
We're not
fight.
talking about a bus ride in
That
Montgomery.
means everybody
We're
get out
talking
there and
about
start
what's
organizing
going on
and
today.
register to
These are the
vote.
people that were there before Trump came to office.
But
And
we
they're
can do
there
something about
after
it now.
office. This is not something that just evolved. These guys have been here for 25, 30, 40 years, just as their fathers and grandfathers were here and their great-grandfathers.
Well, it's time
This
to
is
kick their
from
butts out.
generation to generation.
Isn't it time to kick them out?
I do not go against kicking them out. What I'm saying is that Trump did not bring about the evolution of these people. They were always
I
there.
didn't say
You gotta
that.
understand
We
the
know that,
tactics.
Graham. Why do you keep going there?
I'm
We know
responding.
what brought these people out.
Trump is not the focal point of this thing. He's not the focal.
Ha! I don't know why you. How can you say that? How
I
can you
think-
say that?
I-
Insurrection in the Capitol, January 6th. Who rounded them up? Who got them
Before
there?
Trump was president, my son, when he was doing intel in the Navy, these white boys, they knew 12 years ago that white boys were going into the military to get the education militarily to come out and do what they're doing now. They knew that 10 years ago. Trump wasn't the president 10 years ago. They knew that this was going on for more than 10 years.
It's been going on for 400 years. All right, so
The boys
now we got a chance to change it.
The
That's what
Proud
I'm
Boys
talking
and all
about.
this stuff
Now we
did
got a
not just
chance to
evolve
change
today.
it.
They were here
Well,
before
let me
this
ask
guy
a
came
question.
in office.
Let,
Yes,
if
he
I
opened
may.
the door for them to run crazy, but he didn't bring them about. They existed before he came into office.
And
it's
it got
just
worse
another
once
way
he got in
to
there. You see what he's
say,
doing? I don't know how the two of you,
Well,
the two Hillary haters. The
think-
reason why
Hillary.
we got
Don't
here
get
was you guys
started.
hating
Move on.
Hillary.
I think
Move on. Get up to date.
I think really and truly that everyone is entitled to an opinion for a point of view on how they feel about something. But based on this, if you were to look at or listen to what Graham is saying, there is some validity to what he's saying, that this did not occur overnight.
We know that.
All right? We have a democratic process that we use here in the United States that gets tampered with because we don't pay close attention.
Because we don't
Another
vote.
thing that we vote, but the question becomes,
enough of us
do
vote.
we vote for popularity? Do we sway voters to vote for an individual or a group or an entity of a mindset pertaining to what we think we want because it's going to elevate us individually and it's not going to elevate us as a people? And I'm not just talking about black people. Right now, again, I stated earlier, we are in the midst of a major change locally. We have over 40-something odd city council people.
Right.
That's very diverse. The city of New York. When something happens, some people can flee because they can flee. But the ones that can't flee and stay here, the concern is, do you want someone coming back in and manipulating you to take over and keep you back? This is why the family structure is so important. This is why we need to be sitting with, people got stimulus checks. What did they do with it? What could they do with it? That's the question. Was the stimulus check enough to pay off all of their back rent? Was the stimulus check enough to buy food? Was the stimulus check enough to put them back where they were or better? If they didn't have the understanding and the teaching and the wherewithal there, it was for naught because no one told them. They may have gone and just had a good time because they wanted to be happy. Being locked down for over a year, not being able to go out. So what I'm saying, where are we teaching? I still say it has to go back to the family. You have people that went and bought champagne because they couldn't go to the bar forever, or they went and got a pack of cigarettes because they couldn't find any more, what do you call it, butts or anywhere. We don't know. People couldn't do their hair. People couldn't, a lot of things. But what I'm saying, where did the education with the family come? Who sat to the table to say we can get through this? And this is where I believe whatever you believe in, a supreme being, that's when your religion and your teaching get you grounded and rooted that this too will pass and you will get through this. And when you come out, you would have learned something that would have empowered you to empower someone else. So that's where I'm at. So yes, Biden is in office, Kamala Harris is in office, and I can see the leadership that they're displaying is far better for me as an individual than what it was with the last administration. However, I have to still keep my eye on them. I have to still make sure whatever it is that they're proposing, how does that benefit me and my family, that we can get the quality of life that everyone else is getting? More education, better education, health care. All these people that lined up to get that vaccine, how many of them have a primary doctor today?
All right. Well, I'm going to show off a little bit and play my pastor. I want you to run item 1. This is the guy I've been listening to for the last 23 years, and he's a man of God. You might know them. He's a familiar face. And this is what else we've been going through, fighting police brutality. Graham will testify to that exists.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right? Police brutality. Well, we're just going to go over Dante.
As I got out the car to meet the family to ride to the church, heard a man say, "I've not seen a funeral procession like this since Prince in Minneapolis." I said, "Well, we came to bury the Prince of Brooklyn Center." I had certain obligations and I had to fulfill them in New York, couldn't get here the way I wanted. I called one of my wealthy black friends. He said, I'll send you my plane. Some of them got on Twitter talking about why I'm on a private plane. Because I'm that kind of guy. When George Floyd was killed, Tyler Perry sent his private plane to bring the Floyd family to Minneapolis. Robert Smith sent a private plane to bring Eric Garner's mother and me into Minneapolis. We ain't in the back of the bus no more. I was talking to one of the relatives and I said, well, what are they trying to justify? One said, well, they said they saw some air fresheners in the back of his car. Well, air fresheners is to keep the bad odors out. Well, we come today as the air fresheners for Minnesota. We're trying to get the stench of police brutality out of the atmosphere. We're trying to get the stench of racism out of the atmosphere. Take your seat, Dante. Tell George Floyd who you are. Take your seat, Dante. Shake hands with Philando Castile. Take your seat. Take your seat next to Oscar Grant, because there's a special place in heaven for those that shed innocent blood, because God will use you to straighten out the world. The world will never be the same because we're going to stand up for situations like this.
Amen. Stand up.
Now, for the last 23 years, I've been at National Action Network, and I am a product of that environment. And this has been the black struggle all my existence, fighting police brutality and going back to Amadou Diallo. When Mr. Diallo got up on the stage, or Graham, you can relate to this, a spiritual woman. Well, Graham was on the board of directors.
I
way
still
back
am.
then.
Yeah.
You still are, all right?
Yes, I spoke with Caddy Atu yesterday.
The reason why I go all the way back to this, Graham, is this is what we've been fighting all along, police brutality. And it's been through white supremacy that all this exists. And all the ugly stuff that's been going on all these years still exists.
Yes.
And it's surprising that it's getting worse. Now Trump made it worse. We always knew it was there. Trump wasn't president back then. We had Giuliani. Now look what Giuliani's doing now. All right? So we've had this problem all along. And it's painful to watch people stand by and watch Trump. Everybody says, everybody knows that Trump set this resurrection up, this insurrection up. Now, there's no doubt about it. Now, what do we do about it? We got to fight these new laws that are spreading throughout the country. We still got George Floyd Derek. I had a roll-in showing that Derek and George knew each other and never came out in the trial.
Yeah, but they did.
They know each
were
other. They worked
bouncers.
together. I had a
Worked
roll-in
at the
about
club.
it. But that never came up in the trial. And I was shocked that it didn't. I said to a lawyer, a friend of mine, I said, how come nobody's bringing up the motive? He said, you don't have to prove motive in a murder case. But that would have been, what if the jury had heard that George knew, Derek knew George, and then it was a revenge killing, actually. That's what it was. That's why he was so heartless. That's why he had no heart. Like the closing argument was that it wasn't that George's heart was too big, it's that Derek's heart was too small, that he had no human emotion. The reason why he hated the dude is that they had a beef going. That was a beef killing. Nobody kills anybody in plain sight like that, a stranger. That it all made sense. It would make sense to everybody if they had brought that up. And I couldn't, for the life of me, I don't understand why they didn't bring it up.
But this team was the best team of jurists I've ever seen. I wish we had attorneys like that in New York.
You're going
The
to address
DAs
the point I
across the
made?
city have fluffed all these cases, but the people out there, I give them kudos because they did their job and they did it extremely well and brought that conviction in with no problem.
What about the fact that they never mentioned that George Floyd knew Derek, or Derek knew George Floyd?
Well, I can't speak to the strategy, and at this point, it's really not that important because they got the conviction. He was convicted on all counts. So
Don't you think it should have been brought up?
I think it should have, but the fact is, it's been done. The case is done. He was convicted on all counts. And God knows, the only thing you have to worry about is the judge with regard to the sentencing, whether he gets concurrent or consecutive sentencing.
Exactly.
He should do the full 25 years for one charge and then start doing the next period of time for the second. It should not be lumped together in one sentencing.
If I may, the point that Graham just made is what my whole talk is about. We only know what we get presented with in everything, whether it be the vaccine, whether it be the strategy that's used by the defendant or the prosecutor, attorneys, and we don't know the laws on the books. There's a lot of laws that's on the books that have not been removed that nobody really does anything about. Jaywalking. Nobody locks up anybody for jaywalking anymore. So the point that Graham is making is why I say again, we need to go back to the family structure. Because we knew in the streets, we heard through social media that George Floyd and the cop knew one another, that George Floyd was a bouncer at a club, and the cop was a person that was doing duty on the outside, moonlighting, whatever they call it. We heard that.
He worked there for 19 years.
But it didn't come out. We also heard that they were friendly with some of the same women that were not black women.
There you go.
We heard.
That's what I mean, but it was true.
But what I'm saying,
I have videos on it.
Okay, and I do too. But what I'm saying is that that did not come out through the trial in this particular situation. That didn't come out in the trial. So
Thank you for coming, Manhattan. We have another minute for power to the people. God bless them. The God in me loves the God in you. Stay tuned for more of the Gilchrist Experience. We have another minute for the Bronx.
Do you know how many other cases that people don't take or talk about because they can't prove it or they don't have the monies to fight it?
Right.
And the average person just cries and cry and pray. There is so much I can tell you. I'm a living, walking, experienced person on things that have happened. That if you can't prove it, and even when you prove it with a video, when you get in court, the strategy may change that people still don't get the full picture, and you pray for the results that you want. So again, I say black families, all families, but specifically as a black mother, my mission is for everyone in our family to sit to the table and share your experiences.
Power to the people. God bless.
Amen.
Reverend